got into it because I have a strong interest in voice work. That's my long-term goal, is actually to work through classes and try to get some really good skills built up. I think that doing voice work, there's tremendous opportunity, but I believe it actually maybe requires more skill than regular acting or modeling, although they all require their own skill sets. The first real gig that I had was super complicated. And I think what you realize right away is that, so modeling right now can look like almost anything, but a typical show is just whatever's that designer's vision. It can be something very simple, from just very stripped down look, get out there, be just a hanger for our wardrobe, to something incredibly theatrical. Yeah, it was not something that I really considered for myself at all when I was younger. And then I got married and I had children, and that was the focus. It never even occurred to me. Um, as the kids are now grown and I've got the time and the space and the energy, it was more that I just wanted to look for new avenues of creativity and things to do. So I started looking at the voice work. The opposite, actually, I've been really fortunate. I've got two coaches in particular that I kind of tripped over, and they've been hugely supportive and just sort of adopted me in a mentor way and really pushed me into different avenues that I didn't really think I would pursue, like Runway. I'm short for Runway. I'm 5'7", so that's like but like I said, diversity, everything's changed. So I'll take it while I can get it. One of the runway coaches that I had was 5'4", and this little spitfire of a woman, and she was like, "If I'm on a runway, you guys can be on a runway. This can happen." But I think that everything's changed in just the last few years. It's if you're talking about the big shows, if you're talking about New York, Milan, Paris, that hasn't changed too much. That's up to a designer and whether they have a vision where they want to see somebody older out there, or somebody much shorter out there, or whatever it is that they want to see. There are times when I've had photo shoots where I'm like, "Oh, sweet Jesus, that's just awful."
Okay.
There's two things there. One, if it's a photo shoot of mine that I've done for my portfolio, that is tough for me because that's me controlling my image. Those are my looks. That's what I'm putting out there to the world. If it's a shoot that I'm doing for somebody else, it's their look. So I might not love it, but that's not my problem, to be honest with you. It's freeing because I'm not in a position where I'm trying to make a career live on out of this at a younger age. That's a completely different level of pressure that I've never had to face. Having said that, this was a specific choice, and I've definitely invested in that choice, in classes and training and photo shoots, all the works. That's I put into it, and I'm hoping to at least get that back. I That's not the point, though. For me, I think it's been yeah, it's been a lot more fascinating than I expected it to be, and it's opened up a lot more horizons than I expected it to. Whether or not it ever leads to a huge professional career for me remains to be seen, but the fascination and the interest of meeting people will have totally been worth it. It's really fascinating because I'm a people watcher, so the some of the people that are incredibly talented that you can see in the exercises just have this gift of being able to communicate. They're very loose, they're fluid, they're so comfortable, and their presentation is excellent. And then, the lines dry up and it's just them on camera, and they're incredibly uncomfortable in their own skin.
Yes.
We'll go with that. No, Adriana looks amazing. With you. I think what
Yes.
we've done to our food supply is horrific. And we're so used to everything being artificial that you get like natural food and you're like, "No, it's bland. It doesn't taste like anything."
Hey everyone, this is Abhi from No-Budget Filmmaking Podcast, and here with me is my wonderful Irish friend Sarah.
My name is Sarah McDougall, and I live in Maryland. I'm newly aspired model and actress.
Okay, so how did you get into the modeling and acting industry?
Honestly, I got into it because I have a strong interest in voice work. That's my long-term goal is actually to work through classes and try to get some really good skills built up. I think that doing voice work, there's tremendous opportunity, but I believe it actually maybe requires more skill than regular acting or modeling, although they all require their own skill sets.
Hmm.
That's my long-term goal.
Okay, so how did your interest in voice acting per se developed?
It came out of conversation with different people over the years. I'm sure you've had opportunity plenty of times to hear your own voice, but for me, it was never anything. Your own voice sounds very strange to you. So for me, I didn't understand, but because it was mentioned so many times, it just got to a point where it sort of dovetailed with my looking for something new and interesting to do. So I started pursuing that based just on feedback from other people.
So my second question would be, I'm not sure how big of that industry is in Midwest. Does it bulk? So how did you get the opportunities for that?
The voice work industry is very, very big. There's a lot to do. And I think everybody automatically assumes video game characters or animated characters, which is a huge part of the industry, but that's very specialized. I think the most difficult work in the industry is audiobooks. That takes the most training to keep yourself engaged and interesting because it may not be material that you actually enjoy, but you've been hired because of how you sound. You've got to be thoroughly and completely engaged for the duration, and that can be an extended period of time for an audiobook. That I think is the goal that a lot of people look for. The real money maker is video game characters. If you can get yourself a video game character on like the next Grand Theft Auto, you're going to be pretty well set. That's sort of holy grail kind of vibes for a lot of people. But there's so much more to the industry, even just corporate recordings, training videos. There's one woman in particular that I follow on Instagram. Her voice, you have heard 1,000 times, just telling you whether or not your device is connected to Bluetooth. It doesn't really occur to you that those are real people actually doing those sounds, but that's her. So there's a ton of work out there for people, but it's not so much just show up and start talking and now you've got a job. There's a skill set required to it. There's a breathing rhythm that goes to it. Yeah, there's a bit that goes to it.
Hmm. So for video game work, do you get rigid, English,
Residual.
rigid, yeah, that for it.
It depends. Every job is going to have a different package attached to it. It depends on if you are union, if you're non-union, what the buyout package is. So you can do the work, the recordings. Maybe it gets used, maybe it doesn't. If it does, you've got a buyout package. Are there residuals attached to that for how many years? How does that stage down? Each deal is very unique. And that's not just voice work, that's pretty much any job.
Hmm. Yes. And so what was your first job, first voice acting job?
I don't have any voice acting credits. I've gotten into the industry looking to do voice work. And what I found is when you get into the industry, you just leave yourself open and see which direction things are going to take you in. There are a ton of avenues within the industry, such as your podcast, that maybe people don't have any awareness of, but you might find yourself drawn into. I've done classes and listened to seminars of voice actors who have been doing this for decades, but never even heard of voice work when they got into it. They just got pulled into it and they've been tremendously successful. So while that's what my end goal is, I'm leaving myself open to whatever opportunities sort of present themselves along the way. am also trying to use those opportunities to pour back into training so that I can do better at the things I hope to be able to do.
Mm. And how did it, so you kept your options open. So that's how you got a couple of modeling gigs and acting gigs?
Yeah, well, the modeling gigs I've had a couple of now, acting gigs I have not, but that seems to be potentially on the horizon, I hope anyway. I have two agencies that I'm working with, and they seem to be optimistic. So I'm willing to throw everything out there and see what sticks right now.
Okay. So how recently have you started pursuing all these avenues?
I mean, very recently. Oh gosh, what
Okay.
is it? This is actually November. That's terrifying. I mean, like 9 or 10 months.
That I didn't know that. That was really, really recent.
Very.
Okay, so how was your first modeling gig and how did you find it and what was the whole experience like?
The first real gig that I had was super complicated. And I think what you realize right away is that there are so many different levels to the industry, and you can get a modeling gig, and that's exciting. But there's every chance that the designers that you're working with are sort of at that same entry level that you're at. And so your expectations may be really high, but you're likely working with somebody who's very new and unseasoned and uncertain about what they're doing. And there's a lot of anxiety on their part for what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the first thing that I learned right out of the gate was flexibility, as flexible as you can be. But it also gave me a lot of empathy for the person because I could see what they were going through. So you just sort of, for me, I just wanted to go out of my way to try to make it as smooth as possible for her because I could feel her struggle.
Okay, so if you want to educate me on that, because I don't know much about the modeling industry, so is it like you submit your portfolio and then they select you for a photo shoot and then the photographer sells that photo shoot to a magazine? What's going on there?
No, the photographer is hired by whoever is working on the shoot. So if it's a formal shoot, for example, for a designer, the designer has likely hired a casting director. Pretty much every facet of the industry has its own casting directors.
Hmm.
So they've likely hired a casting director. That casting director is presenting to the designer a selection out of basically a catalog of different models, different ages, shapes, sizes, heights. I mean, everything you can imagine. I do think that the industry has become a lot more fluid in the last few years, so that the acceptance of different ages, shapes, and sizes is much broader than it used to be. So it affords me the opportunity at my age to even begin playing with it. It's up to the designer what they're looking for. There was a show from Balmain uh, maybe 2, 3 seasons ago. I don't think that there was any models on the runway under 45 years old. And that's a very high end, as high end as you're going to get. That's Paris, that's Milan, those are all the top runway shows. So there's a market out there for older models that hasn't existed in the past. And there's a model for different, just diversity of all kinds right now. That opens the market up also to different designers that get to come in and showcase their own wares, the things that they've created. And so modeling right now can look like almost anything, but a typical show is just whatever's that designer's vision. It can be something very simple from just very stripped down look, get out there, be just a hanger for our wardrobe to something incredibly theatrical.
Mm. And it depends on the designer or creative director that's hosting the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The creative direct, I mean, once you've gotten to a level where you actually have a creative director that's a designer with a significant budget, those are big shows that can be incredibly artistic and amazing. But I would say that when you're beginning modeling, more likely than not, you're working with a designer that doesn't have a huge budget. And it's a show kind of over on the side. You're not doing a huge runway show. But there are shows that are taking place. There's a fashion week that takes place every week somewhere in the world.
Hmm. And okay, so is there a reason why you started late in this career?
Yeah, it was not something that I really considered for myself at all when I was younger. And then I got married and I had children, and that was the focus. It never even occurred to me. Um, as the kids are now grown and I've got the time and the space and the energy, it was more that I just wanted to look for new avenues of creativity and things to do. So I started looking at the voice work. Then you're putting together a regular portfolio. It doesn't matter if you're never going to walk and any kind of a runway or a carpet. You need headshots. You need certain things done, right? So there's a process. You're building a resume. You're getting headshots taken. You're working on your Instagram profile, which is how you found me.
Yeah.
That's basically sort of your online resume. And so you're building all of that while you're training and taking classes and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Are there any paid gigs or were they for free?
No, I've had a paid gig, which, I'm grateful for at this point. A lot of the stuff that you do at this level, though, is definitely volunteer work. Volunteering to be extras somewhere on a set, whether it's a big gig or a small gig. I was supposed to be an extra on a set for a small historical production locally recently that just got rained out, so that didn't happen. Um, but it's just the opportunity to get out there and meet people and just get a lot more experience. I don't think I go into any of that stuff thinking this is going to be a big break. It's more like, let me just see what this is like. And there hasn't been an experience yet where I haven't really enjoyed meeting everybody involved. And maybe it never turns into anything else, but I've had a great time. But I think ultimately that's how you build good connections around you too.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the best selling point, apart from obviously your work and your talent, is your personality. Like what kind of energy you bring to the set, and everyone either loves you or they cannot stand you. And if they cannot stand you, you're not gonna get much work at all.
You're not coming back. I mean, you've heard all of the stories. We've all heard the stories about the big stars and the huge tantrums. And I mean, those, I'm sure it'll happen yet. But I haven't come across anybody that's been even remotely unfriendly or unwelcoming or unsupportive. Um, the opposite, actually, I've been really fortunate. I've got two coaches in particular that I kind of tripped over, and they've been hugely supportive and just sort of adopted me in a mentor way and really pushed me into different avenues that I didn't really think I would pursue, like runway. I'm short for runway. I'm 5'7". So that's like but like I said, diversity, everything's changed. So I'll take it while I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and my one of my friends, she's a model. She's based in LA, like me, and she's 5'2", and she walked on a runway in New York, if I'm not wrong. So
Yeah,
I don't think.
there's something out there for everyone. One of the runway coaches that I had was 5'4", and this little spitfire of a woman, and she was like, if I'm on a runway, you guys can be on a runway. This can happen. But I think that everything's changed in just the last few years. It's if you're talking about the big shows, if you're talking about New York, Milan, Paris, that hasn't changed too much. That's up to a designer and whether they have a vision where they want to see somebody older out there or somebody much shorter out there or whatever it is that they want to see. By and large, though, you need to be a good 5'9", 5'10" to be out there for them. So I don't really think I see those in my fantasy future, but you never say no.
Yeah, maybe in the next few months we'll see you in one. Who knows?
You never know. I do. I have a show actually that I'll be walking in December. So that'll be fun. Actually, there are other models there that I've taken classes with online, and we'll have the opportunity to be together in the same place for the first time. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Mhm. Absolutely. And you said you mentioned you have a mentor, and What about so what they're exactly teaching you in a way, like how to walk or how to present yourself?
The runway coach in particular that I've worked with, I've only worked with her a few times. She's actually in another country. She does an amazing job online. There's no mistaking what you're doing right or doing wrong. She's tough, but I love that the most about her. She's incredibly kind, but she just doesn't prove mistakes. I mean, you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. I love working with her. So when I get positive feedback from her, when she's really encouraging, that feels great because this woman has worked with some of the top models on some of the best runways in the world. And I don't think she has time to waste. So feedback from someone like that is very valuable to me. The industry is filled with people who will tell you exactly what you want to hear. And they will be very, very happy to take your money to do whatever it is that they, feed into your fantasies. It's a slippery slope. So I'm a very cynical person when it comes to working in the industry. I come into it very guarded. Someone like her in particular, I have so much respect for. So positive feedback from her means the world to me.
Mm, absolutely. And okay, I'm going to ask this question and
Hmm.
feel free if you're comfortable answering it, or we can skip through it. Uh, Two things. One, how okay, since it's a profession in a way that you have to show off your body, and it's very easy to fall into body image issues.
Hmm.
And the second part is there's also some safety issues as well, because obviously you're surrounded by some people that you don't know exactly.
Yep.
Uh, what did you had an experience in that field, or you haven't never faced any of these issues throughout your 10 months of career?
As far as feeling unsafe at all, no. I'm very leery of the potential for sure, because I've had real life experiences outside of the industry that just leave you on guard. So, um, knowing that the industry is pretty ripe with predatory issues, yeah, I'm very on guard. But fortunately, I have not had any negative experiences to date. I've had some weird DMs, but who hasn't? So,
Yeah, everyone does.
exactly. I don't think that that makes me very unique. So,
Yeah.
no, so far, so good, I will say.
And as far as the body image issues, did you felt well when as you said, you feel weird when you hear your own voice, but when you're looking
Hmm.
at your own body, that's a whole different issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, I'd like to think that there's nobody that doesn't have an issue at some point. What I am learning is that is to make peace with my ratio. Um, I'm not the most super comfortable in front of cameras. I've learned to become more comfortable because I've learned to just stop caring so much. I'm much more in the headspace of just, I'm not sure how much profanity we can get away with, but
Mhm.
I'm much more in a very fuck it headspace in my life in general, which is just part of what allowed me to just get out here and see what would work anyway and try. Um, I try hard on my bad days to lean into that attitude. There are times when I've had photo shoots where I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, that's just awful.
Okay.
Um, there's two things there. One, if it's a photo shoot of mine that I've done for my portfolio, that is tough for me because that's me controlling my image. Those are my looks. That's what I'm putting out there to the world. If it's a shoot that I'm doing for somebody else, it's their look. So I might not love it, but that's not my problem, to be honest with you. That's my job. I think a lot of people are walking down runways wearing stuff that they think is potentially kind of hideous, but that's not your job. Your job is out, just make it look good. So if it's a crazy photo shoot and I look wild and I'm hired for it, no, that's my job. I don't care. I'm not emotionally invested in it. If it's stuff I'm doing for myself, I'm learning to build more of a tolerance level. I worked with one photographer who was wonderful. He was great. The photos that I got out of it in the end were great. We spent a great amount of time together, and he sent me hundreds and hundreds of proofs to look through. And that's not good for me to look at.
Okay.
I don't want to see 600 pictures of myself. It's just not good for
Yeah.
my head. So
Yeah.
I shut that down and was like, I'm going to need you to give me your top 50. I don't want to see any of the rest of
Okay.
that. It's just, yeah, I think body image stuff hits everybody at some point for sure. I've had images taken that I think are really incredible, and I'm blown away by them. And I've had 1,000 other images taken where I'm like,
Yeah.
that's something.
Yeah.
So there's a reality, and I think that maybe doesn't apply to some of the cockroaches of the world, but I think that's just part of my also getting used to being in the industry. Um, Kissing it up. I'm not out here to try to look perfect. I'm not even remotely close to it. So I've got to let go of the control of what that would look like.
Yeah, and most of the time even if you want control, you cannot have it, especially in the beginning.
Right. So I think that the industry, in a weird way, has done a lot more for my confidence than I expected it to. I kind of came into it thinking I would sort of have to shield myself in a lot of ways, that there's a lot of tear down and a lot of negativity and a lot of picking yourself apart. And I think that that can be very true. But I think maybe because of how old I am and because I just have this fuck it mindset, that I can have those wobbly days, but I can get myself back on yeah, I'm whatever. It is what it is. This is working, it's not working, but I'm having a great time. And the experiences that I've had so far have been positive. The people that I've met have been really interesting. And I'm just going to keep going. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and as you said, they were since you're new, they're most likely new as well. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely some people out there that I've had some contact with that I've been fortunate enough to bump into here and there that are far more experienced than I am. I'm grateful for any little bit of feedback that I can get. And like I said, I've been really pleasantly surprised by how kind some people have been to reach out and sort of offer advice and suggestions and ask if I just have any questions. And that's really kind. So that's more than I was expecting coming into this.
one more question I have. Is there a community there who are like other creatives like you, like photographers, models that you've been in touch, or uh, is it more like individualistic as here?
I think it's both, to be honest with you. And I think that goes to social media. So I think you'll find more, excuse me, more groups and communities on Facebook where I found them in my area. So I've been able to do collaborations with photographers through Facebook groups. So it's their concept, I'll model for them. That gives me more time and experience. I get great pictures out of it. They get to use the work if they'd like. So I love all of that. I've run into a couple of people on Instagram where we've been able to do some work there as well. And I've got one project sort of percolating right now that I'm excited about that we'll see hopefully comes to be sometime next month. Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm kind of yeah, I'm at a loss as to say where exactly this is all going to go. I'm just sort of taking it a day at a time by now, but I keep the voice acting in my pocket. That's where I want to make sure that I keep my focus and that I keep working on getting training for.
Yes. And well, the interesting is the word of the day today. So that's good.
Sorry, I think I've overused it like 1,000 times. So
No, no,
please
no.
edit anything out that sounds crazy.
No, it's not crazy, that's for sure. Uh,
I tried to
eh,
warn you. I'm like, I don't have that much of a story to tell you right now.
no, the whatever you're saying, it's good enough. Sorry, not good enough. It's interesting. It's interesting enough. What's the competition like there? Are you competing with thousands of others, or like ten
I
thousands of
don't,
others?
I genuinely don't know. I'll be honest. I genuinely haven't the faintest idea what numbers are. Um, I think I feel like this is a good time for me to be doing this. I don't think that I had the mental mindset to be doing this in my 20s when the competition would have been vastly different than it is in my 50s. So I think through attrition, I might be in some better positioning than I was in my 20s, if that makes sense. Um, I don't really know. I know that the market for women modeling my age is generationally fairly new, to be honest with you. There are obviously markets for the women in a previous generation, but what I'm trying to say is that my generation right now is not approaching retirement and looking to get quiet and settle down. My generation is the kids are grown. What's next? There's a whole nother phase of life to take part in. And I think the generation before us didn't necessarily feel that level of freedom. So I think that there's much more opportunity for women of my age right now than there has been in the past. What that market really looks like, I don't know. Um, but sometimes I find like doing the numbers isn't really good for you. And just keep my head down and I'm going to do my thing and we'll see what happens.
Yes, I think it's vastly different than what other people have said, because other people have definitely said that the market is brutal and the competition is brutal, and sometimes you have to step on someone to get up, and that's not nice.
I think that probably just goes to my lack of experience at this point, to be honest with you. Check back with me in a year, I might have a different answer. I agree. I think it's freeing because I'm not in the position where I'm trying to make a career to live on out of this at a younger age. That's a completely different level of pressure that I've never had to face. Um, Having said that, this was a specific choice, and I've definitely invested in that choice, in classes and training and photo shoots, all the works. That's I put into it, and I'm hoping to at least get that back. Um, I That's not the point though. For me, I think it's been um yeah, it's been a lot more fascinating than I expected it to be, and it's opened up a lot more horizons than I expected it to. Whether or not it ever leads to a huge professional career for me remains to be seen, but the fascination and the interest of meeting people will have totally been worth it.
And in a way, more and it's also a different avenue to explore.
Yeah,
That
yeah, it is empowering. I mean, it's fun to just have a new adventure at this point in my life.
Yeah, and not to think about how you're gonna eat the next day or next week.
Exactly. That's super freeing. That yes, it's afforded me a luxury of being able to have fun in this realm. Not trying to feed my family on it or feed myself on it. Thank God at this point.
Yes, but have you met some individual who are in that boat?
Yeah, I mean, my classes are mixed with people of all ages and walks of life, different levels of experience. There's definitely, I mean, some of the youngest people in my classes actually have some of the most experience. They've been working since they were very little. They might be like 19, 20 in my class now, but they've had jobs since they were like 7. Um, so they are younger than some of my children are, but they're a lot more experienced in the industry than I am. So the classes are a huge mix of life. That in itself is fascinating. There's plenty of people out there just like me that are new and just trying to figure it out, and other people that are experienced and happy to give some feedback.
Hmm. And what did you see in them? Like, do you see that obviously you have passion and but yours is a little bit different than what they are trying to do. What was it like to interacting with those people?
Um, it's really fascinating because I'm a people watcher. So the some of the people that are incredibly talented that you can see in the exercises just have this gift of being able to communicate. They're very loose, they're fluid, they're so comfortable, and their presentation is excellent. And then, the lines dry up and it's just them on camera, and they're incredibly uncomfortable in their own skin. They're not people that you would easily chat with or hang out with. I'm not saying all of them, but I found those people to be the most fascinating because their discomfort evaporates when they're putting on a character. And I think that gives them an incredible amount of freedom. And that's been really interesting for me to watch.
Yep, and I know it's a little bit stereotypical, but most of the time, we see that a lot of uh, people who are really successful in modeling and arts in any entertainment faction, most of them are actually quite tortured. They are tortured souls in a
I think
way.
that there's a strong correlation between creativity and trauma.
Hmm. Yeah,
I think you can
that's
see that throughout history. I mean, the first person that jumps to mind is Vincent van Gogh.
yep, and obviously we know. Yeah, we're not gonna give a history lesson to our viewers, but yeah, he was a tortured soul too.
Yeah, but brilliant and incredibly talented, and that level of creativity. So I do think that there's some level of correlation in there. I just saw probably an old interview now of Jim Carrey, where he discussed sort of working out his whole life's worth of trauma in the different characters that he played, and that playing those characters helped build pieces of himself into the person that he wanted to become. I thought that was fascinating, and I haven't had that experience with work, but I could understand what he was talking about for sure. It was.
Yes,
It was an absolute clusterfuck. But the fact that they all logged on from different states and hung in there the whole time to watch it was very sweet. It meant a lot. So we do give each other a lot of crap. We definitely are that family, but they definitely have my back and I appreciate them.
yeah, yeah. It just reminds me of something. Like, I grew a mustache, right? Like a really thick one, just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the first thing my mom said when we were FaceTiming one day, she was like, "Oh, kiddo, you have a caterpillar on your mouth." So, so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We're along those lines for sure.
yeah. Okay, that I didn't expect.
That I thought was pretty cool. So that's Jasmine Tukes, and I do believe she is fully 9 months pregnant there.
She's what?
9 months pregnant. Well, very pregnant. I think she's actually 9 months. I saw somewhere.
9 months.
Yes. She's incredible. She looks utterly fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, turn off.
Yeah, I love that they opened the show this way. It was very defiant in a way because they've gotten so much noise over the years for just lacking in diversity and really not shaking it up at all. So I think coming back this year, bringing back so many former Angels and then opening up the show with her like this was amazing. I thought it was a very big statement.
Yes, absolutely. Because that catches your attention right away.
Hmm.
And obviously, there are so many. Uh, I wouldn't like to say old.
Adriana.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to say they're old, but I would like to say they're what's
Seasoned, more
seasoned.
experienced.
Yes. Yes.
We'll go with that. No, Adriana looks amazing.
Yes.
These women are stuck in time for me, so it's really hard for me to put an age on them at all, to be honest with you. First of all,
Yeah.
she doesn't look different.
Yeah, at all.
Who is that? Is that Dodson Crows? I said her name
Ah.
wrong. I'm sure I did. Yeah.
So, yeah, and it is much more and again, as you said, a few of them, if I'm not wrong, are in their 40s.
Alessandra. Look at Alessandra. I think she
Yes.
looked like that 10 minutes after she had her last baby.
Oh, yeah, I
She
don't
is
know.
just ripped.
Yes. That's I don't know how they do that.
Oh God, her name is escaping me right now. She's so pretty.
And
I
they're
love that
re
look.
Yeah, and they're really good at not just overshadowing the clothes that they're wearing, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
I mean, these looks were all so, I mean, back in the day, everything she's wearing under it is Victoria's Secrets. You can get that out of a catalog.
Yeah.
What she has draped over her is not. When the original shows first came out, they would have like the $1 million bra back in the day, and it would
Mm.
be who got to wear it. And it was this incredibly uncomfortable looking
Okay.
harness, essentially, that was just super jewel encrusted. Um, they actually would have a specialized catalog where you could buy that bra. Like, I'm not sure who was buying that, but it was out there. Um,
Yeah.
so many of these pieces were custom made just for these models.
Mm. All right.
That's Candace.
This
She hasn't
is,
changed at all either. She looks amazing.
yeah, they all look the same, and it's just, I'm not sure if you're feeling it right, but the glamour and
Hmm.
everything is just oozing out of them.
It is. I'm not sure if it's not until the end of the show, but Bella Hadid, I'm not sure if they've all come out in just once or if they had multiple looks. I didn't see the full show, but I know that Bella at some point wears an enormous pair of white wings that weighed 50 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And so what they're wearing is not necessarily easy for them to just be trucking down the runway acting like it's not a thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And this is Madison Bear, if I'm not wrong. So I think they named it as Angels, right?
Yes.
After
Okay.
this show, there was a lot of buzz about this on social media, specifically about um, it was two factions, at least what I was seeing after the show was that some people were like, okay, it's not diverse enough. Some people were saying it is diverse, and there was some people who are saying that it is creating some body image issues with some people because we all are seeing that they're incredible looking, but you can see they're all ripped technically, apart from obviously.
That they are. I mean, here's the thing. They're lingerie models. They're supposed to be ripped. This isn't supposed to be the representation of everyday women. They've got that out there, but that's not what people come to Victoria's Secret for. That's not my impression. They also have perfectly practical cotton panties at Victoria's Secret, but that's not what someone wants to see on the runway. There's a room for everyone, but this is a spectacle. And I am not saying that there's not room for all shapes and sizes, but this is specifically meant to be kind of in that fantasy lane. I'm not going to be mad at them for doing exactly that, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And also there was one faction that that was kind of correlating with that is that most of them have struggled. And you mentioned Bella
Yeah.
Hadid, and she has on record she says she is depressed and
Lyme
has
disease.
yeah. So
Yep. And I think, I don't want to say something that's not accurate, but I think that she was not necessarily in top shape as far as how healthy she was feeling when she did that show. But that's the level of her professionalism. And you don't know what they've gone through to get there. And I don't think that it's all like they're starving themselves at all either. These women are in incredible shape. You can't starve yourself and be ripped at the same time. It's just not possible. These are not skeletal women coming down the runway. These are healthy women in really good shape.
yes, absolutely. And speaking of being ripped, can you see my screen right now?
Hmm.
And I guess this body shape is also famous right now.
I think she looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So to say that somebody is curvy certainly doesn't mean to say that they're not ripped. And to say somebody is, very lean or thin doesn't necessarily mean that they're in great shape, right? So
Yeah.
I like to see the variety because I think that sexuality presents itself in so many varieties. That's what they're selling here. They're not selling practical underwear. They're selling sexuality. So
Yeah.
I appreciate what they show because I believe they showed us a variety.
Yes, and it is
I'm not going to get
it's
mad at them because I don't think I saw a redhead out there.
yeah. Maybe we can wait and there might be one. Uh,
There
but
might have been. I might have missed it. But I think there's always an angle for somebody to sort of attack at, but it's based out of your own insecurities, if that's the angle. That's
yeah,
my perspective.
and apart from insecurity, I think most of the time people need something to just scream about.
Just a bitch about. Yeah, that's the world we live in right now. I don't know that I I look at my youngest who's 21. I think there's an entire generation out there that has never known the world to be anything but completely oppositional to itself. I grew up in a time where people could disagree, but there was still a give and take. Now I think everybody's been programmed to believe that it's an us or them situation. So I think that it does make it easier for people to pick things apart because people just are trained to fight right now.
Yes, and a lot of and again, I think well before that there must be a standard, but as you said in the very beginning of the this episode that everything has been changed. A lot of almost all body types and almost all ethnicities and also all ages are welcomed here, welcomed in the industry and being represented in some way or some way, shape, or form. So
Yep. And I think, excuse me, healthcare is such a huge issue in this country. It's so pivotal. It's changed so much about our culture. I think that it's really important for everybody to recognize what healthy looks like is very different. So, for example, somebody can look at me and think that I'm healthy because I'm thin, that I've kept myself in some kind of exceptional shape because I'm this age and I'm still thin. My body shape is purely a product of a genetic disorder that leaves me very thin and makes it difficult for me to eat. That is not necessarily a healthy body. But I can look at somebody else who is much more voluptuous and they could kick my ass when it comes to how healthy they are. So perception is the lie sometimes, and perspective is the truth. I think perspective is everything these days.
yeah, absolutely. Like, if I go take it to the other side, like for most of the guys that are somehow really, really ripped, they can be one
Hmm.
of the unhealthiest people out there because they're just exploiting these steroids or other things that they should not
Or
put in
just
their body.
living from, one powder to the next. And yeah.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of influencers who are extremely good looking. Their body, you can actually count their muscles from their from outside, but they passed away because of the how much they were exploiting these steroids. So I don't know. And it's funny enough you mentioned that because my housemate, she's almost like 60, 65. And she's also a redhead, by the way. Uh,
Okay.
and I would not like to say that she's thin, but she just come back yesterday and she told me that her doctor said she's one of the healthiest person in her age bracket. So
Hmm.
you're absolutely right that it's just perception. I can look skinny or a little bit thick, but the health is a different issue.
It is. And I think since it's such a driving issue as far as how well we function in this country, like how we all survive economically at this point, right? It's all
Mm,
about how much money we're spending for our own healthcare. I think that we should shift our perceptions on what healthy actually looks like
mm.
and just be open-minded that not everybody has life so easy. You know, you're looking at these models and you're not thinking that they have a struggle, but you're looking at Bella with 50-pound wings on her back and Lyme disease. You know,
Yeah,
she's working her ass off to get that job done.
yeah. Some of them have real family issues as well.
Right.
So
Yep. So I think it's just a kindness and an empathy and an awareness. And, you know, Ashley Graham is a stunning woman and
yeah,
probably a whole lot healthier than I am right now.
uh, debatable, but yeah, sure.
I don't, I just think that it's perception. It's too easy for us to interpret from the outside and be wrong. So I just think it's part of the perception of giving everybody a little bit of a break these days, if that makes sense.
Yes, and also I think okay, one more topic, and I'm not sure if how much we can deal deep into it, but the surgeries have been and other medications, especially Ozempic, also has
Mhm.
been prevalent in the industry, and so among common, not common folks, among other people who work in the other industries as well. Have you seen in your vicinity about like a lot of surgeries or things like that?
Not so much surgeries. I mean, I know people that have had surgeries, but not anything more than I in regular life, just, friends outside of the industry. Um, the Ozempic thing, the GLP ones, am I saying that right? Yeah, they're everywhere right now. That's in the last 6 to 12 months, I think it seems to have exploded. It's gone from people that were the target audience to a much more mainstream approach where people are sort of like microdosing it so that they're trying to handle it in small amounts. Um, I'm not sure that I feel like I'm the person that gets to really have too many opinions about that because I kind of fight to put weight on. So I've never been in the position where I feel like that's been my thing. And you know, I I don't want to put judgment out there because I haven't had to live that way. I, on the other hand, though, think it's a super slippery slope. I think the original form of those drugs were worse, and I think they're getting a little bit better so that they don't actually eat away at muscle mass. Um, when it comes to the new drugs on the market, I'm one to sort of let other people be guinea pigs for a couple of years and see how that all goes and
Yeah.
let somebody else sort it out first. Um, I think that there's an opportunity there to really help people who have struggled tremendously. But I think it can be very overused, and I'm not really sure what the long-term side effects are. So that stuff worries me.
Yeah, as far as I know, and again, it's not a fact, it's just something I'm remembering from far away. When it exploded, they created there were not many drugs for the people who do needed it, and it was for
Mhm.
mainly for diabetic patients, if
Right.
I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And it does slow down your heart rate, and it does affect your muscle mass. So
Mhm. It does, but they've come a long way with that. So the newer versions of those drugs don't handle it the same way. So they don't actually eat away at the muscle mass. But listen, I always believe in balance, right? So I believe that there's a legitimate world for pharmaceuticals. I just don't think that they're the first stop to solutions. I think if that's what you've got to do and you've tried everything, then bless your heart, do everything you've got to do to keep yourself healthy and happy. I just don't think it's a quick fix for somebody who's looking to lose 15 or 20 pounds.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I cannot again, I cannot judge them either because again, I never had struggle losing weight.
Right.
It's like you, right? I never had struggle losing weight. It's gaining weight that is problem for me. So
Yeah.
I completely get it if someone is trying to do, because if someone told me like 10 years ago, 20 years ago that, okay, I'm gonna give you this thing and you'll gain as much as muscle or mass as you want to need, I would most probably take it. So,
I get it. I definitely get it. And I listen, I have a really good friend of mine who has struggled with her health and everything. I mean, it's been very scary for her for a long time. And she's done literally everything. Nobody's ever given her a medical reason for why her body is the way it is. And yet they're willing to have her do all kinds of surgeries and bypasses. And yet she doesn't eat a lot. She's like, somebody needs to figure my body out. And that's such a struggle. So if somebody had a pill that could fix that for her, like in a minute, I would want that for her. You know what I mean?
yeah. And most of the time, okay, again, I'm not a doctor and I don't want to be a doctor.
Right.
But and it is genuinely one of the fields that requires a lot of that deserves a lot of respect and everything. But sometimes I feel like most of the medical field and professional try to cure the symptom rather than the cause. And
That is Western medicine. I don't have a ton to compare it to, but again, going back to balance, I would love to see a much more holistic approach than we have in this country. This country is just about what pill can you take that's going to cure that symptom, but why do you have that symptom? That's a battle you have to take on your own in this country. There's very few doctors that have the time or the bandwidth to have that conversation with you. They're mostly completely overrun, especially in the last 5 years now since COVID. Just I think I read somewhere that like 40 or 50% of the country doesn't even have a primary care physician right now.
yeah, and
So just trying to find a doctor who's going to sit there and go through all the whys for you, as opposed to take this and your fever will go away. I've got 18 patients waiting for me. You've got to do that work yourself these days.
yeah, and I think there's something. Okay, it's getting a little bit off topic, but that's the last part I'm gonna say as well. Don't you think it's something with the food too? Because when I was in Paris,
1,000%. Yeah, you are singing my song right now.
yeah,
Absolutely. My youngest son is 21. He was born with an autoimmune disorder that did not exist before I'm going to get my years wrong. I think it was 1996. I might be off by a year or two here. But like a year or two before that, you know what the big shift was?
hmm, but
GMOs.
okay.
So his disease didn't even exist. And they know this because they went back and they went through all the tissue samples that they could find at Johns Hopkins University, and they tested all of them. And that disease did not exist prior to GMOs. It produces a physical response in his body that is only meant to target parasites and cancer. But his body has been attacking itself since he was born.
Oh God.
Yep. So you've got
That,
all of these kids right now with like it's called ARFID, like avoidant food restricted intake disorder. Like they just struggle so much to eat. They eat very restricted, specific things, maybe five things, if that, in their whole life. And there's a whole generation of kids like this. And I thoroughly believe that this is because we have wildly screwed that pooch when it comes to our food supply.
Yes.
Me right now, women my age that I look at, almost everybody I talk to has a thyroid issue or something else that has happened hormonally to us in menopause. I am much better now than I've been in a long time, but that's because I'm living on supplements, things like sea moss gel and my little Groons Bears methylated vitamins, and like I'm living on this stuff because my body's not absorbing it and it's just not there in the food supply anymore.
Yeah, and I guess even if you look at like I'm not sure how much travel have you done, but if you eat the same food in Europe,
Mm-mm.
it doesn't feel that heavy anymore. I don't know why.
It does not. I haven't done a ton of traveling, but enough to know exactly what you're talking about. So my genetic disorder is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I follow a bunch of forums. And one of the things that jumped out to me recently, there's so many things that can happen to people with this syndrome. Like it's everybody looks different, right? Not everybody's got the same issues. But for some people that have really bad gastrointestinal issues, the food supply
Mm.
is a big issue. And this one guy was talking about going to Italy and kind of panicking because he couldn't eat anything here. Like his body was having massive reactions. And he's like, what am I going to do when I'm overseas? How am I
Mm.
going to handle this? And how depressing to go to Italy and not be able
Yeah.
to eat. And then he posted in the group like 3 days later and he's like, I'm eating my face off. I am eating everything and nothing is wrong. Like
Yeah.
now he knows he's in another country and he's eating the food and he's fine.
Yeah.
That's not okay. So obviously he's got an issue because of our genetic disorder, right? That's why. I'm telling you, it's sad. I follow this one little family that relocated some overseas, and they brought their daughter home. She's 5. She
Mm.
was 2 when they moved, and they came home and they gave her like water in the airport, and she didn't want it because it was gross.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they don't pour all the chemicals into the water there. They're just getting actual water. Then they gave her a piece of chicken. She didn't want it. It was gross. And her mom ate it and was like, God, this actually is gross. Like, that's not what chicken tastes like. Wow.
Yeah. As someone was saying, he was from Europe. He's like, you can taste every flavor in most of the... I'm sorry, we're just shit talking the country we're
No, I
living
hear
in,
you though.
but
I'm right there with you. I think what we've done to our food supply is horrific. And we're so used to everything being artificial that you get like natural food and you're like, no, it's bland. It doesn't taste like anything. Like, give it a minute for your taste buds to resuscitate themselves.
yeah, absolutely. And you will be, I think you can eat like 5 times and you won't get any, you will be, yeah, you won't gain any weight. Let me just say it.
No, I truly believe that. Like you could eat bread all day. Like what's that village in Italy? I want to live there. There's that one little village in Italy. It's up in the
Mhm.
mountains somewhere, but it's by the coast. And I think the highest number of centenarians in the world.
Mhm.
So they had like a ridiculous number of people over 100 years old in this village, but they were all still walking to the village every day to get their food. They're all still smoking. They're all still drinking red wine, and they're all still having sex at
Yeah.
over 100 years old.
Yeah.
But their food is just healthy and they're walking up and down this mountain path every day. So they're physically healthy. And yeah, that's the life over there.
Yeah,
I'd be
it's
all
a
right with that.
yeah. I think it's
I'll
balanced
retire to
though.
that village. I'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's balanced diet, like mostly plants and
Yeah. A lot of
yeah,
fish.
a lot of fish,
Yep. But
plants.
organic, like seeds that are from one season to the next, they keep reusing the same thing. So it's not all tainted. Here, you can have somebody growing organic food, but you're cross-pollinated with garbage from next door.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, we had a loaf of bread. We were grilling sandwiches, I think, and I left a slice of bread on the
Mm.
picnic table overnight and came out the next day. And we live next to the woods. So there are squirrels and deer and things everywhere. And I came out the next day and there wasn't even an ant on the bread.
Oh.
It was completely untouched. And I looked at it and I'm like, what the hell is I never bought that brand of bread again. It's like an old, tiny, old fashioned brand that's been around since I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, not even the bugs wanted it.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Yep. I'm like, I will listen to the ants. I'm like, I
Yeah.
need new bread.
Even if the Coca-Cola or Pepsi's taste different, because here we use corn syrup, and there in most other countries they use sugar cane, and it's
Cane
just taste.
sugar. And then we pay a premium to get the Coke from Mexico because it's in the glass bottle with cane sugar.
Yeah.
So we ship the formula over there and then we import it back and pay a premium as opposed to the garbage we It's wild.
And no
What
one
if we
talk.
just sold it here?
Yeah, and no one talks about it for some reason. I don't know why.
I
Especially
mean, I
in
have a theory on
mainstream.
that, but that's probably a different podcast. It's the strength of the corporation is far more valuable than the strength of our people. Our healthcare is driven solely by insurance companies, right? So the insurance companies, it's what they're doing is for their shareholders, right? So somewhere was it late 80s, early 90s, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations are people too, essentially, right? Like they have to protect their shareholders' investment.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, our culture started believing that those shareholders were more important than the health and welfare of the people of the country. And it's gone like that ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God, we delved deep into the
I know we jumped right out of entertainment. This was not entertainment at all. Sorry.
no, it is, it is. It depends who you ask.
That's true.
But yeah, but again, it is part of the life that because we are so unhealthy in some way, shape, or form that when we look at someone who's like extremely thin, extremely fit, we see it as sometimes we take it negatively. You know what I mean?
Right. Or you see it as somehow as they look at how successful they've been, as opposed to, wow, she kind of struggled to get there.
Yeah, and also sometimes I think the moment that we had, like some people did not like that only thin people were getting represented. And it was one of that things too. Like people were like, okay, 90% of America doesn't look like them. So why are
No,
you sh
somewhere in the middle lies the truth. I mean, 90% of America shouldn't look the way it does.
Yeah.
But 90% of America, like if you change that whole statistic and gave us a healthy outcome as a country, still most people wouldn't look very thin all of the time. That's just not the norm for most people all of the time. So I do think that there should absolutely be representation. Somebody needs to see those curves out there and see what they look like and everything. And why on earth would we make it at all that's not beautiful, right? You've got a lot of thin women out there that are blowing up and implanting an awful lot of things because they're trying to get those curves. So I think there's also an element of people want what they don't have. So I think that you soothe that by showing a little bit of everything.
Yes, absolutely. And that should be the case. And most of one more question I had was like, was most of your work uh what it was is exactly? Is it like
It's going to be a little bit of everything. The show I have coming up in December will be everything from swimsuits to gowns. So that'll be the first time I'm doing a swimsuit on the runway. That'll be fun.
hmm,
But it's not a huge show. It's in another state. I never have to see these people again. I have a perfectionist vibe, so I will go out there and do my best to kill it because that's just my mentality. But I mean, if I trip and fall on my face, whatever.
you won't.
Coming home, I'll be coming home one way or the other.
Yeah, and everyone will have a story. Uh,
Right. But
yeah.
there's incredibly talented people out there that never want to see their own stuff because they don't have that comfort level. Like Adam Driver
Hmm.
is so talented, but I'm pretty sure he's one of those people that's actually maybe never even seen his own work because it gives him so much anxiety to see himself on screen. Like
Yes.
he's there, he did the job. If the guy told him he did it right, he's good. He's going to do everything he can to make sure he's doing it as well as possible. And then leave me out. I don't want to see that. I think I totally identify with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And is your family member apart from your husband is joining you there or no?
No, this one I'll be going to by myself, but I'll be meeting some women that I've done a lot of online training with. And uh, there are three or four. four of us that know each other. I think there's another group that I don't even know. So it's kind of going to be a little bit of a party at this show where we'll all know each other. We'll be out there for a few days together.
Okay. Also, before I forget, a shout out to every partner who are supporting their partner in whatever new endeavors they are trying to do. So that's a shout out from my end to everyone, to your husband and every other partner who is helpful to their
Yeah, my
spouses.
husband has been utterly amazing. He's really my biggest supporter. He always has been. This is stuff that he always kind of wanted to see me do anyway. So he's getting a big kick out of things now.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason you married him, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're coming up on, oh my God, a lot of years
Oh,
together.
you forgot?
I'm not sure if I want to say now. No, we've been together for 28 years, more
Oh,
than half my
wow.
life. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Oh, that's a long time. My parents
yeah,
have been like
absolutely.
uh, well, 31 years, I guess. Yeah, 31
Yeah,
years. Yeah. How's it
it's a
like?
journey. I mean, if you're doing it right, you're doing the work. If you're not doing it right, you don't get there that long, or you're just straight out miserable. And neither of us has any interest in being miserable, so we do the work.
Okay. I know it's not a relationship podcast, but what do you mean by work?
I personally believe that well, for me, and I come from a cultural background that's not like once you're married for life, and there's just no choice, so you don't consider things, right? So
Hmm.
for me, I don't think that you get to be together that long without doubling down at least a couple of times. I think that there's at some point over the years, through all the things that you go through and raising a family and whatever life throws at you, there's been a moment or two that you've thought about whether or not you wanted to stay. Some marriages make it through that and some don't. Um, I just don't find it believable that anybody's been married going on 30 years and hasn't had a few of those moments where they made the choice to do the work and stay.
So, any future projects?
I have some shows that I'll be doing in a few weeks that I'll be traveling to do. And in the meantime, I have one or two things that are in negotiations right now that we'll wait and see if anything comes out of that. I don't like to speak about things until they're a little more solid. It feels like I'm wishing them away. But I'm hoping that that will turn into some more opportunities. I've been fortunate enough to add another agency and a manager recently. So I hope that that's going to bring me a lot more opportunities. And I'll have more to share with you another time.
Yeah, and I wish you luck for that. And
Thank you.
I wish you a lot of success in your future. And
Thank you.
any advice or any last words or any piece of wisdom that you want to share with someone who is in the same situation as you or someone who is really want to break into the industry?
Yeah, I think that if anybody genuinely feels that they have a passion for being out here and doing this kind of stuff, they should just give it a shot. It has nothing to do with a specific appearance. It really doesn't. Specific appearance, it's hard to define that for anybody else, right? But in the
Mhm.
acting world, the commercial acting and getting into things like that, there's a market for literally everyone. So if it's a passion, you should check it out. Checking it out means doing a lot of research, and that can be the frustrating part because I think that that learning curve is really important, and it means learning more than doing at first just to save yourself some time and trouble. And then when you start getting into the doing, research everything more. Every class that you're going to take, Google that person, Google the class, try to get reviews on everything and talk to people, network as much as you possibly can. You don't know who you're talking to now could be tomorrow's something. You just don't know. But be kind to everyone. I think that that old adage of, in the corporate world, it was whether you treated the guy in the mailroom the same way as you would treat the CEO. You don't know who tomorrow's CEO is. You should treat everyone with kindness and respect.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it was truly an amazing conversation, and it was my pleasure to have you on my podcast, and I hope I see you again. And
Thank
it
you. I
was
appreciate your
wonderful.
time today.
Yes, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation as well.
I did.
And I
I feel like
would,
we could do a whole separate podcast
yes, yes, it will be on uh
on healthcare
relationship,
and food supply.
relationships, food, healthcare, and all other things that are making us unhealthy in a way,
No kidding.
physically and mentally.
Yeah. But I
I
enjoyed
think,
meeting you and I appreciate your time very much today.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is
Like, comment, and subscribe. Please, 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 I'm begging you. Please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe. Subscribe for more content.